You want to heal your addiction? You need to learn this one critically important thing. You have to feel in order to heal. My name is Christopher Armstrong, and I am an addiction transformation coach. I am here to help you to wake up to the next chapter. Your substances and your coping mechanisms aren't working anymore. Let me help you get through to the next gateway, because if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, it's because you're here for a great purpose. You're here to rebuild this planet. You're here to heal. And as you heal, so does the world around you. You are made up of water, so much water. And your water is your emotions. Our emotions are tears, our anger, our fear, our sadness, our grief. All of these things, they flow through us. Well, they're meant to flow through us. And so many of us have become stagnant. Our water inside has not been allowed to flow like this beautiful hot spring. And in the process, we have become ill. Our dis-ease, our diseases that we deal with most often have their roots in emotional imbalances. Now, our emotions are created by our thoughts. Our thoughts occur, they create emotions. Emotions create chemical hormone compounds in the body that then creates a physical effect on us and causes us to act in certain ways, not always for our best. I wasn't able to let go and heal my addiction to alcohol and to many other things until I could start to tap into my emotions, to start to heal my emotions, to feel. There's an expression in the community of healers and guides and teachers, which is, you have to feel in order to heal. And today I have come back to this hot springs, Las Georginas, here up in the mountains of Guatemala near Quetzaltenango. And I came here 5 years ago. I came here 5 years ago to come to a Jiangsu water massage training. I had just recently landed at Lake Atitlan a few months after having quit drinking. I sold everything. I got fired from my job as a wine salesperson, just only natural considering I was done drinking. And then I just knew that I needed to change something in my life. And on my way towards Mexico and ultimately Lake Atitlan and coming up here for that trip, I had to learn about the power of emotions. In fact, actually, that experience of me taking this Jiangsu water massage course helped me to unlock a lot of awareness and also a lot of emotional baggage that I've been holding on to for a lifetime. You see, alcohol was one of my primary tools to avoid feeling. I grew up in a society that does not celebrate men who are tapped into their emotions. Men oftentimes are not given permission, explicitly or implicitly, to feel their emotions. We're often called bad names, derogatory names, whenever we tap into our emotions or we feel sadness. Anger maybe is one of the emotions that we're allowed to as men to feel, but even that is difficult because anger in a man can provoke fear in a woman or children, and therefore that too has even become repressed, especially after World War II, after that challenging, destructive experience where men came back, especially into the West, and they kind of felt like, I don't want to do that. I want to be more in tune with my sensitivities, but they got out of balance. And so we've had this curious experience with emotions, and me growing up, I learned to hold on to them, to repress them, to eat them, to drink them. You know, like anger lives in the liver according to the Chinese medicine teachings, and alcohol, which gets processed in the liver and has a tremendous effect on the liver, is what people often drink in order to reduce their anger or to heal, or, well, they think they're healing, but to release or numb or soothe their difficult emotions. And that's where I was at. I was using alcohol and a variety of other substances, including work and and TV and cell phones and anything really to distract from feeling. And when I came here for this training, it was 5 days, and we were in this beautiful healing water that's so powerful. It's got so many minerals in it. It is medicine. And every day we were guiding each other as we were learning into these postures where we'd hold people like a child floating in the water, and we would swish them around and move different parts of their body, and they would be completely surrendered, completely in the surrendered energy, the feminine energy, the receptive energy. They did nothing. They were only there to receive. And we would move them around, but we would move them in the waters. And guess what this fetal almost posture inside of a pool of water mimics? It mimics being in the womb. And so many of us were transported back to that, whatever feelings that we had, maybe emotions that we came in contact with when we were in the womb, maybe fears and doubts and anxieties when we arrived on this plane, when we were birthed out, perhaps born into a hospital and smacked on the ass by a doctor, maybe or maybe not given to the mother afterwards. And then there's so many layers and so many years, so many decades of possible repressed emotions that were there to be felt. And the funny thing was that in this process where each of us was learning to be a facilitator, while also receiving support, our shit was coming up hard. Oh my God, everybody was going through an experience. It was wild. It was challenging. I got sick about 2 days into it. It only lasted a morning, but I had to purge out all of the food that I was eating because I had brought a certain amount of food with me, and we didn't have any refrigeration, and it was cold at night, but not cold enough to really be good for the food. And I was thinking that maybe the food had gone bad, fermented, but I was eating it anyways because food was a coping mechanism. Food has definitely been a big coping mechanism for me. When you think about it, that's the first thing that we do to feel soothed and calm when we're just out of the womb. And so I got sick, I was eating too much, my stomach was feeling terrible, other people were getting skin rashes, sunburns, all kinds of things were happening. And it was quite a challenge for most of us. And it was a beautiful opportunity for each of us to feel and process our emotions in a group setting, being held by other people, so that we could clear out our stagnant waters and become a better guide, a better teacher and facilitator for other people. Now, I'm back here 5 years later, and the last 5 years have been quite a roller coaster, to say the least. It feels so good to be here. It feels so healing, it feels so powerful, it feels so refreshing. And even when I came here, I told the taxi driver, hey, give me just like 2 hours, it'll be fine. No, I needed much more time than that. I needed to slow down. Because I came to visit a doctor, a naturopath who works with homeopathy to repair some joints that had some damage done to them that I had injured from pushing too hard in my life. I'd been moving so quickly, so fast, pushing so hard, not only as a Westerner growing up in the Western world, but with a dad who worked all the time and with a society that valued work and money making and your salary and what are you accomplishing and what are you doing and what are you studying. And so coming here this time, I had to go back up to the cab driver and say, hey man, I gotta stay another hour at least because my body needs to slow down. And I need to feel. In the last 5 years, I've cleared out so many emotions, so much stuck emotional energy, stagnant water. And I do that in so many different ways. It's the ways that I help my clients to do it, the ways that I have other facilitators help my clients to do it, because I don't like to do things on my own. And I've had so many experiences where I'm like, I thought I felt it all. I thought I felt enough. I thought I healed enough. Is it going to be over? Am I done? After 40 years? I thought I had felt everything, and then I realized 40 years of repressed emotion, because I was a very emotionally sensitive child, and I could feel not only my emotions, but the other people's emotions. And because I didn't know that there were others and I didn't know what to do and how to process and handle them, I swallowed those too. I believe to a degree that I came here to be someone who has that capability to help others to transmute their emotions. Now, I don't have to pass them all through me. I don't have to feel them all. I don't have to feel someone's sadness in order for their sadness to go away. But I have been sitting with so many decades of stuck emotion. And we can't rush that process. The water needs to flow. But if you've been an iced over lake your whole life, a block of ice or a glacier, you have to have patience that it might take a little bit of time. Now, I can help you to release your emotions faster than anything that I've ever experienced, whether it's through guided breathwork sessions, EFT tapping, neurolinguistic programming, mental and emotional release. There's so many techniques that we can utilize. And also, some emotions just need to take their time. There's no rushing. Try to rush an emotional release and you might end up in a tsunami. It's not great for everyone involved. It's not respectful for yourself. Sometimes it's got to happen, but we must connect with the water. We must understand the water. We must learn how to flow like the water. We must learn how the water moves through us, how the water as emotions moves through us, how we can honor the water, how we can heal with water, and how we can heal the water, because the water on this planet has become so contaminated because it's a reflection of us. As above, so below, as within, so without. Hermetic principles that teach us that everything that is outside of you is inside of you. We have science and quantum physics and understanding the subconscious mind and projection and our human senses to verify all of this. Whatever is in your outside reality is inside of you. And so if the waters are poisoned and contaminated with chemicals and waste and debris and trash, it's because so are we. So what's the next step forward? Well, start to feel. Oh, and that's hard for some of us. Oh my God, that was hard for me. I remember 3 weeks after I quit drinking alcohol, I came home after work selling wine. I was driving all over Portland, all over West Portland, to sell booze to a bunch of grocery stores, and I was 19 days in, and I came home and I was stressed out. A lot of traffic. I didn't make that many sales. I was frustrated, feeling a lot of self-doubt because I wasn't making that much money as a wine salesperson. I wasn't really very good at it. But it was new. I was trying something new, right? Got to honor the process. Some things take a little bit of time. And then I got home, I switched my clothes, I ran to the park, and I had found that recently running had been really good for me. So I started running, and I ran through the park. And as I got into the park, it was a beautiful park with these big, tall cedars and oaks and all kinds of beautiful trees. And I saw this, I was blinded by this sun that was shining out. And it was a man about 50 feet ahead of me. And I started walking over to see what was going on. He had a big gong, the instrument, a gong in the field, in the park. And I thought, well, that's really curious. That's really strange. So I ran over there, and then he walked up to me, and he looked at me, and he looked kind of like Jesus, or at least what we think Jesus to look like, white Jesus at least. Though Jesus was probably and certainly not white, if he was even a real person. But if there's anything you need to know about Jesus, he's a model, an example, a set of stories and instructions for you how to become a better human. But I digress. So he walks up to me and he says, "Brother, I want you to have everything that you want. I want you to have everything that you desire. I want you to be happy because of your happiness. Having everything you want, having everything you desire allows me to thrive. Because when you do well, I do well. We're all connected. We're all one." And I was just like, what kind of drugs is this guy on? And then he got down on his knees and he kissed my feet. And then this other woman came up and started talking to all of us. And then we just started this natural flow of conversation. And I said, I quit drinking almost 3 weeks ago. And they looked at me and they said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel great." And in that moment, it clicked for me that I couldn't go back. I was no longer the person that I thought I was. I was no longer the person who needed alcohol for soothing and to hide and repress my emotions. And so I cried right there in the park. And I held it. Oh, I held it back as much as I could because I was afraid to see somebody see me cry. I can even feel it right now. I feel this like energy of tears and sadness and also gratitude coming through. And I feel, because this is on camera and because I know this is going to be on YouTube at some point in time, that there's a resistance to it. Still little bits of that little child who wasn't held the way that he needed to be when he was feeling the emotions that he felt. When he was on the ground and he was crying and somebody walked up and said, "What's wrong?" And the only thing that he could probably think was, am I wrong? Is feeling my emotions wrong? Because it confuses a child. And I cried right there in the middle of the park, and those two people held me. I cried for probably 10 minutes, and they just kept holding me and soothing me and asking me if I needed anything. And then all of a sudden I got up and I felt like $1 million, and I ran around the park. I sprinted as fast as I could. And then I got back, and the guy looked at me and he said, "Did you just sprint around the park?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You need to integrate this energy. Come over here." And he puts me on the ground. He puts me in front of the gong. There's a blanket, and there's a bunch of sound bowls, what I found later to be Tibetan sound healing bowls, and he put them on my body, and he just started playing them all. And all those perfectly tuned, pitched tones reverberated throughout my entire body and into the water, right? You can see the ripples of music in water. You can see when the bass is banging real hard at a rave. You can see it in the glass of water. And it was the same thing was happening to me. And I got out of that, and I was in a trance, and I eventually got back home, and I maybe had something to drink, and then I got to sleep. And I remember writing on a note card before bed that night. I remember writing, "There's no going back. Everything's different. There's no going back." Now, I had maybe 1 or 2 drinks in the 5 years since then, more out of curiosity than out of any sort of need. I just kind of wanted to see if I could enjoy alcohol anymore, and turns out I can't. I used to spend hours smelling wine. I would walk into a Congress hall convention center with thousands of wines being poured, and I would smell it and go, "Oh my God." And now if I smell that, if I even walk close to somebody who's drinking, has been drinking, or has a drink in their hand, I'm repelled instantaneously. My body does not want to be around it. Things have changed because my body now knows that the alcohol is a poison and not a medicine. Now, alcohol in a tincture form can be a medicinal if it's carrying the extract of certain plants and mushrooms and things like that, but not in quantities like we drink in our culture. And I'm so grateful that for the last 5 years I have been clearing out so many emotions, because right now I feel myself opening up to a new level of sensitivity. So much so that actually I've started coping again with food, and that's coming up for release. Thank God I have the tools and the support. Because usually when it's addiction, it turns into food and sex and money after that, if we get rid of the substances. And here I am 5 years later, and I feel I'm on the verge of a new chapter, whole new book even. I keep getting the sense that I'm meant to write a book. I don't know, I think it'd be interesting. I got a lot of interesting stories. And I feel like I'm opening myself up to a lot of the gifts, the psychic abilities, the ability to listen, see, hear beyond this dimension into other dimensions, to be able to bridge this world to the other worlds that exist, that humans have been taught don't exist, and we have forgotten and haven't cultivated our ability to see, feel, hear, touch, taste, all of those things. And I believe that I'm opening that up right now, and that is a new chapter, and that means that I got to get rid of the old coping mechanisms so I can step into that power and that gift. And I used to rely on psychedelics and cannabis to do that. After I quit drinking, I used psilocybin and ayahuasca and marijuana and all these other substances to try to be able to break through the veil, to be able to break through to the other side and see and feel all of those things. And then I had to realize that I was shortcutting, and it was hurting me. It was hurting my body. It was hurting my mind. It was hurting my neurochemistry. And so I let go of it, and here I am, clear, soaking in a pool of hot water and drinking a little bit of that mineral water there, after I prayed to it, after I sing it a song, because I know that this water is much more powerful medicine than ayahuasca. And don't get me wrong, those things have a place and a time. Certain people need to walk those paths. I did for a while too. I sat in so many medicine ceremonies only to realize that I am the medicine. I carry the medicine of my ancestors in my bones, in my DNA, in my genetic code. I carry the medicine of the water in my blood. I carry the medicine of this earth in the very tissue that the earth gifted me and constantly regenerates itself from the earth. And so it's time now for something new. And if you're watching this and if you got this far, that means that you're definitely here to be a very weird and powerful person. And so if you're having difficulty with that, I want you to tell me. I want you to let me know what's going on. Drop a comment. I'll respond. Send me an email. connect@risewithchristopher.com. Send me a message on Instagram. Whatever it is, reach out because I can help you. Give me 90 days and I can get you out of any addictive pattern. Give me a day and I'll give you freedom from tobacco, nicotine, and cannabis. If you're ready. But I don't work with people who aren't ready. And it's okay if you're not 100% ready. You can be 80% ready, and that 20% still could be dragging you down. But I can help you with that. I'm going to shut my mouth for a few minutes and drink some of this healing water and meditate and be at peace with, that's a fun feeling. Whew. Man, that was like a 25-minute breathwork session right there, just in standing up. It's amazing what the body produces when we're put in stressful situations like this very hot water. But I love you. I am you.